always get up while I'm chatting too. But we'll get right into it. So, hi, my name is Kate Whip. Hi, thank you. I am a registered kinesiologist, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about seniors in motion. I also want to say thank you for getting up super early on a Monday morning and coming. I really appreciate it. So what we're going to get started with here, we have our agenda for today. So I'm just briefly going to chat about Trent Health in Motion. You guys obviously all found us, so we don't need to go too much into detail there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the benefits that are associated with getting active, right? I'm sure many of us can already answer a lot of them anyways, but we will kind of chat a little bit about that. We're going to then go into talking about the program, why you guys are here, what you guys are potentially signing up for. That way you guys can have a little bit more information. And then last but certainly not least, I will open it up if you guys have any questions. We will also have the owner of our clinic, Mike Williams, come up, and he's going to chat a little bit with you guys as well. So that's kind of our loose plan for today. If you guys have any questions though, this is supposed to be, it's a conversation. I want you guys to feel like if you have a question, feel free, stop me. I'll see if I can pick back up right where I left off. So to start us off, Trent Health in Motion, we are a multidisciplinary clinic. As you can tell, we have lots of different rooms here. We have lots of different services that we offer, but our main role is we are here to help people through rehabilitation as well as injury prevention. Those are our big goals that we strive for. So these are just a kind of short list of what we offer. I always love to highlight because no one really knows about pelvic health, which is really cool, something that we offer here, something that we don't nearly talk about enough as well. We have chiro, physio, massage, sports medicine. We have Dr. Hyman, who sometimes works out of our clinic, hydrotherapy, dietitian. We have clinical conditioning, which is me, and then seniors in motion. So I like to just include all of our smiling faces. This is our team here at Trent Health in Motion. I also like to include them because you might actually see a few of us throughout the duration of the program. So yeah, just to kind of get a little bit acquainted. And then moving on to me. So that's my smiling face. I graduated from the University of Guelph in human kinetics. And in 2020, what a good year, me and my husband, my now husband, decided to move closer to family. So that's what brought us to Peterborough. And then this is where I started working at Trent. It's been an amazing experience because they've actually really allowed me to focus on some of my passions. And this is where kind of seniors in motion kind of took form. So this is a big area of my interest. I also love canoeing, kayaking, playing with games with friends, all the fun stuff. But enough about me. We should probably talk about why we're here today. So aging is a natural characteristic, right? We are all going to age, but that does not necessarily mean, or does not necessarily equal inactivity. So there are quite a few characteristics that are associated with inactivity as well as aging, but they don't necessarily need to go hand in hand. So we notice, right, like if we are inactive, maybe even as we age, we're going to see a decrease in our muscle mass. We're going to see less of that musculoskeletal function. We will have a decrease in our bone mass itself too. So if we're not putting as much load through those bones, through the joints, they're going to become a little bit more brittle, right? We're not using them. We're not putting resistance through them. You're going to see an increase in that visceral fat. So unfortunately, the visceral fat tends to sit around that abdomen, right? That section. Everyone's nodding. Okay, yeah. Good. Okay, so we all know about that one. We're going to have a decrease in that cardiovascular output. So that's actually a really big one, right? Our heart health is so important. So if we're not active, then this is going to start to decline, right? We're going to see a slower metabolic process. I'm sure a lot of us, in our teenage years, I can't eat as much as I used to. And then, we have an increase in that total fat as well. So not just now that visceral, it starts to sit in other places as well. And I'm not trying to be the boogeyman here, I promise. But these are characteristics that we often see. But what I really want to highlight, just because we are aging does not mean that these necessarily need to occur. So studies have actually shown that if we start to increase our activity levels, we can not only slow these down, but in some cases start to actually improve them, which is huge. Yes, love that. Love that. You're very enthusiastic early in the morning. I love that. I don't know if you've had a lot of coffee, but yeah, perfect. Perfect. I love it. Cheers. So that's awesome. So this is kind of what started our program, or where we started to look. Now I know, like I said, it's very early in the morning, but can anyone tell me some of the benefits of exercise? Just give me like a for instance, maybe even.
You feel better.
Feel better. Love that. Anyone else? Yes.
Improve mental health.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I love that you went right there. That's amazing. Okay, anyone else?
Sleep better.
Sleep better. Of course you do. Yes. Any other ones?
More endurance.
More energy. Endurance. This is perfect. Yes. All of these benefits are associated with getting active. Now, that doesn't necessarily, as much as we would love it to just be like one bout of exercise, it's not, right? It takes time. We need to build into a little bit more of a routine. So here are some of the exercises that I just kind of or benefits of exercise that I jotted down. I love to start with the cardiovascular because that's, like I said, our heart health is so important, right? So if we get active, we can start to see a reduction in the risk of those cardiovascular diseases. We're going to see lowering in blood pressure as well as our cholesterol levels. Now, we are actually in our program, we will be monitoring your blood pressure. So that's something that we will consistently do and come back to. Then we can see a reduction in the risk of type 2 diabetes, decreased risk of falls as well. And this is another one that I'd like to highlight because this is going to be a big goal for us throughout the program. We are going to be doing a lot of balance training, proprioception, postural control, and that actually has been linked to helping that decrease risk of falls. Then we are going to, benefits of exercise. We see, the normal one, right? Strengthening the muscles. We see an increase in our bones too. So this is when we start to put load through it, and that links very closely to the decreased risk of osteoporosis, osteopenia. And then I like to put like a asterisk there. Weight management. It is a wonderful byproduct of getting active. Should not be our main focus. In our program, we won't even take your weight or anything like that because this is not the goal, right? It's happy accident. Yay, we feel a little bit better. That's great. But what we're really focusing here on is improved overall health. And we don't want to just fixate on that number on the scale. And then we also see an improved function in our daily activities, which is really what we would love to see, right? You want to keep doing what you want to do longer. That's what we want to do, right? So these are some of the benefits that are associated with exercise. But what I want to highlight, like I said, it's not one bout. This takes time. This is regular exercise. We have now kind of committed. In the short term, yes, you're 100%. You're going to sleep better after one bout of exercise. You're going to feel a little bit better. We're going to have a reduction in that anxiety. But these are really those prolonged benefits. And then I love that you mentioned, because we forget that the brain is part of the body. Yes, we are going to also have some physiological benefits that are associated with prolonged exercise. So, you're going to improve those social connections. This is a huge part of who we are as humans, right? We need social connections. We saw this more than anything during the pandemic when we were very isolated. That was very tough on our mental health, extremely. So we really wanted to focus in our program about social connections, and that's why our cohorts are going to be kept smaller. So you're going to be in smaller groups up to 10, and that way you can turn to the person beside you and you're going to know them because we're going to be meeting twice a week for 6 weeks. You're going to know who's beside you. You're going to know who's across from the circle. We hope that you kind of start to maybe make some friends, or maybe it's someone that you already knew and you get to reconnect. All great things. We're going to see, benefits of exercise. We see enhanced self-esteem, which always feels great. Boost of energy, like you guys said. Improved cognitive function, huge. I love this, right? Reduce that anxiety and improve sleep, which a lot of you guys already mentioned, and I love. So we do know the benefits, right? Everyone seems to have a rough idea. How many of you guys are feeling like we've stuck with that? Have we got active enough in the last week, maybe last 4 weeks even? Okay, good. I like that. We're swaying. That works for me. So, well, if my little button works. Okay, there you go. The American College of Sports Medicine states that this, unfortunately, is the bare minimum that we should be doing. So, we should be at least hitting 150 minutes of moderate aerobic physical activity per week. So, moderate physical activity, unfortunately, does not only include walking, right? We want to be able to increase our heart rate, get a little sweaty, right? Increase that perspiration. You want to make sure that you're going to be incorporating those bigger muscle groups. So for some of us, that might be walking, right? You might start to get that more like, whew, like I'm really working here. And that's fantastic. That's a good starting point. But we want to make sure that we are going to be getting that at least 150 minutes per week. The flip side of it is you also need to make sure that you're doing a strength training component. So yes, it's great to always focus, right? Aerobic, we know, focusing more on that cardiovascular system. You need to strengthen your muscles as well. To do what you want to do, right? If we link it back to our daily tasks, even just like getting up and down from the chair, all these things, you want to make sure you're going to be targeting those big muscle groups. You want to make sure that you're going to be adding a resistance component, that you're not only just lifting your body weight, but potentially some other weight as well. Okay? Right, like whether it's resistance bands, weights, anything like that. And we should be doing this about 2 times a week. So now we have some sways. Anyone actually in the last month, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't do it. Yeah? Yeah? Okay, amazing. You guys hit it. Excellent. That is fantastic. So who can tell me, just like off the top of your head, why do you think no one's, or potentially this is a hard ask? Time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Time. So the British Sports Medicine Journal said that the adherence to the bare minimum was 1 in 5 adults can actually. So we had 2, but in a rather large group, right? It's a tough ask, and often it's linked to time, which is why we are asking you guys and whoever's going to be participating in our program that you are going to be required to give 2 hours of your week, and it's going to be for you. That is your time commitment to us, but to yourself. 2 hours, and it's going to be for you. And that way it is, you have to carve that time. We're kind of keeping you a little bit accountable here, right? You're going to come, but those are 2 hours that you're working towards this goal. And then ideally at the end of this program, you can continue to do it, because this is really an education program. We're not just here to show you what exercises to do and then that's it. We really want to make this sustainable. We are going to teach you how to exercise safely and what we should be doing. So yeah. And then building off that, another area that we really wanted to explore during our program is fall prevention. So studies have actually shown that with regular exercise, and I guess regular, it's not just that one bout, I wish it was, that'd be great. But no, it's regular exercise can actually reduce the risk of falls by 30%. And with us in our clinic, we were seeing a huge influx of fall-related injuries during the pandemic. So when we weren't really getting out as much, or maybe it was a little bit harder to kind of get out onto the water, whatever, we were seeing more injuries were related to those slips, falls, falling, putting the hand out and we get a fracture, any of those kind of things. So what we really wanted to focus on is, can exercise and regular exercise and education start to combat this? So this was our kind of the snowball. I wanted to kind of lead you through our process and how we built our program and why we built our program. So, Singers in Motion. We have actually been very successful, which is so excited. We have had quite a few renditions now of Singers in Motion since starting in 2020. And like I said, the cohorts are very small. We wanted to keep them small by design. Yes, we did start during the pandemic for this program, but we decided to continue on with the smaller groups to allow more of those connections. And some of these people even like they still email me that they go and meet up for a coffee. A couple of them will walk and grab coffee together. They have been going to the Y, like all these different things to get more active in our community. And this was really what our goal was, because we didn't want it to be drop-in sessions. So a lot of us, like if we have a gym membership, no one's really keeping me accountable to go to the gym, right? It's on me. They don't care if I go, whether I go or not. Where our program is we are going to be monitoring you. Yeah, thank you. Throughout the program. So we really want you to be there. And that's where we kind of built the program. So this is what you are going to experience. We will have a one-on-one functional assessment. So anyone who is selected for the program, you found us, so you're coming back here, and you will meet with our owner of the clinic and physiotherapist, Mike Williams. And then you will also see me as well. We are going to be going through some validated functional assessments with you. So some of these, I will go more in depth with these, but we will be taking some of the metrics such as, oh boy, that's bright, blood pressure. We're going to be looking at your heart rate. We're going to be doing a timed up and go, which means we're really looking at your leg endurance and balance when you're walking. We're even going to test some cognitive components of that, which is going to be super fun. We're going to do a sit to stand and grip strength. Grip strength is another really important one. If we think about falls and fall prevention, we want to make sure that we can hold something, whether it's a railing, your bag, maybe you turn, but you have something in your hand, and we're not quite as aware as we maybe should. So grip strength is a big component of that. So we will have an initial and a final functional assessment. That's what we're asking from you. On top of that, though, you're also going to then go through the program. So once you've done the assessment at the beginning, then we start the fun. So we are going to be having 5 exercise sessions. It's all going to be led by me. You're going to be kind of sick of me at the end. Some smiling faces already nodding. Okay. We're going to be having a hydrotherapy session as well. We're going to get you into the nice warm water. It only ever comes to about here. I will never ask you to go underwater. Don't have to worry about that. Maybe some of you are like, darn, but I won't do that. You can do that on your own if you'd like. And then we're really going to be focusing on these ones with resistance training. We're going to be working with chair. I'm going to get you up and down. It's a workout. Honestly, it's going to be great. It's good fun. But it's low resistance. We're focusing on strength training. And me personally, I love focusing on balance. I will get you guys to do a couple cool balance stuff. You're going to be, again, at the beginning, it's tough. It's tough, I'm not going to lie, but it will get easier. Yes.
It is low impact, isn't it?
Yes, all low impact.
Just checking.
Yep, no. And it's really to improve our functional movements. Because if we really want to start at the bedrock, right? You want to start at the foundation before you can kind of build up. We are going to teach you what to do, that you can do it at home. Make it kind of sustainable that even after the program, doesn't matter. These are things that you can do at home, easy. So that's more of the exercise component. But when I say it's an education, right? This program is really built towards being an education program, which means we have to have some workshops. So we have 3 wellness workshops that we will integrate into the program as well for you guys, and I'm going to go over these as well. So functional, I just ramble on. For the functional assessments, we kind of already went over this. There's an initial and a final. You guys will also have to complete some surveys as well. So these surveys, what we're trying to do is we're collecting this data and we are analyzing it. So we're trying to show the government and other health organizations as well that preventative care works. Right? We know this, it's been proven, but we are trying to really solidify the fact that if you limit some of the more bigger barriers, financial, this program's free, right? Then you also have small groups, social connection. If we can start to and then we have all of our practitioners who are all educated. If we start to limit a lot of those barriers, can prevention really work? Preventative care really work? And what we've been seeing is it does, which is fantastic. And then, like I said, we are going to be going through some validated tests. You don't need to worry about these too much. We will show you, we will go through it, and you're going to do it at the beginning of the program, and you're going to do the exact same thing at the end. Okay? We are going to be asking you guys, so like I said, the functional assessment's going to be taking place here. All the other components, the exercise, hydrotherapy, workshops, all of that will be held at the Wellness Center on Brayley. It's luckily the part that's not under construction, so that's good. Does everyone know where that is? Not? Yeah. We'll figure it out too if that if it comes down to it. We could always carpool too if people are in different sections of the community. But this is
between Lansdowne and Sherbrooke, is it?
it is. That's the one that's right by my house too. And I'm like, I always turn that way and then I'm like, dang it. And I have to go back around and weave my way through. But no, it's on the other side. It's kind of close to Fleming,
Yeah, okay.
like where the baseball diamond. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of tucked away back on Brayley. But anyways, that's where you guys are going to go. It's free parking. That's where we will be having the majority of our program take place. And they know we're coming, so don't worry. And then, like I said, we are going to have 5 exercise sessions. They're going to be led by me, but you're going to be, once again, you're going to be sick of me by the end of it. I'm going to be there for all the sessions. So this is like I said, I really want to focus. We're going to focus a lot on balance. It's very important, and we can train our balance, which is very cool. We're going to be doing some low impact strength training. I will get you guys using resistance bands. We will also give you some of these tools to use at home. You guys will get pamphlets, bands that you can continue on afterwards. Yeah, I know. Oh, love that. Yes. High energy. This is great. And then we also, I will begin every session with a warm up. We focus a lot on our range of motion throughout before we get into that strength component. And we will always have a cool down session at the end as well. And that's where we kind of focus more on stretching, which I love. That's my favorite part. And then these are just some of the photos of our sessions before. Like I said, again, smaller cohort. We use chairs. I won't really get you down onto the floor. It's building up. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, yeah. You don't have to. So we use, but you can see like we will be using, gosh, that light. We're going to be using light hand weights. We're going to be using TheraBands. I have these really fun discs that we're going to use. Yeah, just wait. It's so fun. It's so fun. And then don't forget, you got to bring your bathing suit, not your birthday suit. We are going to be going into the hydrotherapy pool. And like I said, it's pretty, it's shallow. It's heated. I will be standing on the deck to lead you through all the exercises. And we are going to be doing this as well at the Wellness Center. So you can have a locker. If you do want to lock your stuff, bring your own locker. They don't supply them. Or you can bring your stuff onto the pool deck. There's a ledge at the back where you can put your towels and stuff. But we will be in here, and this is where we're really going to focus a little bit more on, again, balance. You can sense a theme here, as well as range of motion. We can do quite a bit in the heated pool, and it's a little easier on our joints as well. Still a workout, though. I promise all of you, when you get out of the pool, you're going to be like, oh, like in the pool, we're like, oh, this is fun. And then as soon as you're out, you're like, okay, I worked hard. We are also going to be having a chair yoga session. This one, thankfully, won't be led by me. No, I'm just kidding. We have a local yoga instructor who is going to be coming in to teach us. She's actually a senior member in our community too, who's been teaching for years. This is a big passion of hers. So we were very fortunate to nab her up. So she's going to be teaching a chair yoga session. Once again, you will not be required to go onto the floor, not a part of it, but we can still do an impressive amount of stretching in a chair. Promise you that. We will also, like I mentioned, be having 3 of our wellness workshops. So we will have a dietitian come in, and we're going to be having a nutrition as we age workshop. We will also be having a pharmacist come in to talk about pharmaceutical interventions. And last but certainly not least, we will have our fall prevention workshop. Again, another big component of our education and preventative care. So the first one, this is Cora. She's amazing. She will be doing our nutrition workshop. She will also, we wanted to make sure, like the snacks here, food is a big part of it. I need to eat in order to learn. So we will make sure that we have a healthy meal to kind of share between us. And then she will go over some of those big questions that we have. We wanted to make sure that this is for you guys. You guys will have a chance to submit questions anonymously. You can put your name if you'd like, but she will go over the questions that you are seeking answers to, because there's a lot of different information out there on the internet, right? There's a lot of information that sometimes might not be as easy to understand as we would hope. So she will be going over some of the big questions, as well as touching on some of those dietary interventions for comorbidities, hypertension, hypertension, cardiac conditions, diabetes, osteoporosis, even osteoarthritis as well. And then she's going to go over how to plan these meals, maybe ways that we can do it affordably, because that's a big part, especially with groceries being rather expensive. And then just making those choices that we can have these be more sustainable, stuff that we can actually integrate into our lifestyles and have them going forward. We will also be giving you guys booklets on all this information as well. Yes, love that. I saw you brought a little notepad, and I love that because that's what I do. And then, like I said, we will be sharing a meal together because that's a big part of it. So this is our workshop for nutrition as we age. We will also be touching on the pharmaceutical interventions. So Samir will be coming in. He's a local pharmacist, and he is actually amazing. Like we have brought him back by popular demand. This is another opportunity too that we will have a Q&A. So we ask you guys to submit questions beforehand. He will get those questions, have his answers ready, and we will go through them. You can once again do this anonymously. This is a big part too. We want you guys to feel like this is a space you can ask questions. Also, a lot of us might not have family doctors anymore. So this is a big kind of component that we can, okay, again, nods. Yeah, it's not great, but yeah, I'm seeing a lot of nods. So he is wonderful, and this is why we brought him back to kind of talk a little bit more about, even exercising and medication, right? It's big, they can play hand in hand. And then, like I said, last but certainly not least, we will have Allison come in. She is an OT in our community, or an occupational therapist, and she's going to come and talk about fall preventions. So this is actually a really cool presentation. Like I said, I sit in on all of these. I love her presentation. She goes over ways that we can kind of change our homes to live in them longer, to make adjustments as needed. But she also goes over any like walking aids. So walking poles, if you guys have walking poles to bring in, she will show you how to adjust them to yourself, canes, walkers, all that stuff. She will go over a lot of really cool modalities, braces. She talks about it all. It's actually a really cool presentation. So she will be coming in to talk about fall prevention, even how to fall properly and all that fun stuff. And then, like I said, we will be requiring that final assessment. So after the program's done, you will come back here and we will run through those tests once again. And this is just a way. We won't be taking your name or anything like that. It's just the data that we collect. And that's what we are going to then hopefully continue to compile. We've been doing this over the past 4 years, and we have been seeing huge improvements. So not only are people reporting that they are more confident with their balance and their mobility, but we're starting to see people's systolic blood pressure is lowering, which is huge. We are seeing significant improvements in lower leg endurance as well. So it's crazy. And in a short amount of time, guys, if we really think about it, we're not building this long program. It's a quick snapshot. The fact that we're already seeing these benefits is amazing. So, and then these are just, I don't even understand these data. And then we're seeing a greater perceived quality of life. And like I said, that's really should be our focus. Never mind that scale. How do you feel? Do you get to do what you want to do? Do you get to go kayaking? Amazing. How can we keep doing that? That's really the goal of this program. And then I just included some of these testimonies, but I'll kind of highlight two in particular. There was this gentleman who came in, and for his first initial assessment, he used a walker, and that's completely fine. Like we take anyone can be a part of this program. He was using a walker to walk, and he had a walker for outdoors. He had a walker for his home. At the end of the program, he did the test without his walker. I know. We actually stood there and was just like, oh my goodness, like this is incredible. And then another gentleman, actually, because we do It's exciting when we get guys, because a lot of times it's women who tend to come, but we get really excited. There was a guy who was, he had a knee surgery coming up. So he used our program as training for the knee surgery, and his surgeon was so impressed by the actual like quadricep, like the muscle tension he had built during the program, and his recovery has been a lot smoother. And it is just like to show that it's what you put into it, right? If you're here, if you want to learn, if you want to participate, that is what we are really hoping for. And we have had a lot of great results. Great results. Yes.
Just within the 5 exercise classes?
5, so it does kind of change. So we had the 5 exercise classes, we had the hydro, the yoga, and then the workshops. You still get moving during the workshops too. It's more of just, and we always alternate. So it's twice a week that you're going to be coming, and you will always have some exercise component throughout. And then it also does help too. Like this is kind of a jumping off point. Ideally, you know, maybe you guys are going for a walk more now, right? Now we're feeling a little better. It typically, I will say, when we first start, that's when you start to notice a lot of aches in the joints, right? When you first start an exercise program, by the end, it's a lot easier. You're feeling a lot better, and we can actually kind of, you know, you can continue on afterwards, which is great. Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. We do focus on teaching you how to exercise safely and how you can do it over an amount of time. Yes.
Yeah, safely. So how do you know how much you can push
So we're going to
yourself?
go over
I
that.
always
Yeah.
want to do it and then do some damage. So
Me too. Yes. And it's not, you know what? A lot of you guys are probably, some of the movements will be easier for some individuals than others. You will always kind of have that change, but I will show you ways that we can always modify or we can progress.
how do you know, like when you say you're going to have some aches, how do you know
What's
these aches are okay, these aches are too much?
We will go over that. So I
Okay.
will highlight where you should be noticing
Perfect.
like some, and especially at the beginning, anytime that you start something new, there's always that kind of learning curve. And especially we tend to overdo it. So I don't know, my first like big walk/run of the year, I always go too long. And then I'm like, and then I can't do it for a little bit. So it's kind of finding that happy medium, right?
Yeah.
And what we're going to be doing is not anything that you wouldn't be doing typically in your day-to-day, but I'll show you how to do it properly. So we're making sure that we're not doing a movement in a compromising position, because that's the biggest point, right? We will sometimes, you know, reach for that top shelf and maybe we kind of do one of these, or maybe we're like lifting our laundry detergent. Maybe we shouldn't be keeping our laundry detergent up here because then I have to hike my shoulder. Maybe it should be down here and I can just do an easier squat, right? We'll kind of go over those movements and make sure it's functional. Any other questions before we? Oh, yeah, okay.
A stationary bike, is that good for exercise?
Oh, love it. Love it. Anything that's going to get you moving.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that's more like that's really good for lower leg endurance. You still want to incorporate some other movements other than that, but excellent. Great form. Walking, anything. If you don't have a stationary bike, that's okay. You don't need to go. I'm not saying you need to go buy one. You know, walking will be a great way too. There was another question. Yes.
How long is each session?
Great question. It's an hour. So we are asking, an hour of your time. Keep in mind, you might want a little bit of time on each bookend of the session, just for figuring, especially like the first time, right? You want to figure out where the room is. We want to make sure we know where we're going. And then I'll kind of let you know, like for the next session, if we're going to be in the same room or if we're going to be at the pool or something like that. Yeah, I'll let you know. You guys will get a schedule as well, and it will outline. For simplicity, we are hoping that all of our sessions are in the studio room. They might change that. Hopefully not, but ideally we all are in the same room every time. Yes. Okay, awesome. So this is the timeline. So thank you for coming. That is awesome. This is a way to kind of see our interest, because this is where we're going to be collecting, like you had to put your email address in, right? This is how we're going to be contacting you to check your availability. This will be a big component in the eligibility as well. So once you've completed that, and you will be sent this next week or the first week of June. Is that already next week? Oh, okay. Yes, that's next week. Keep an eye out. Also check your junk, because sometimes our emails go there. So We will be sending out an email. Please fill it out because this is going to be how we go on to the next step. So once you've completed that, we will be putting everyone who is eligible into this big generator, and it's going to spit out the names. We will try and keep people together. If you have a friend that you are participating with, or carpooling, a partner even, we will try and keep you guys together if you note that. So yes.
How many people are signed up for these introductory sessions? So what percentage are gonna get selected?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Well,
I have no
because
idea off the
this
top
is
of my.
This is my second time round of not being selected.
Not being
so
selected,
so
okay.
I kind of am curious what the chances are.
Ideally.
Well,
Okay.
there's 40 in this room, and you've got a second session.
We do have a
so
second
we're not all
session.
getting in.
So yeah, I'm not. I do not know the stats
Okay.
behind it. Ideally.
Just kind of want to know the odds.
Hopefully you get picked. I really. What's your name?
And
Anne? Okay, Anne. Well, I will, fingers crossed, if I see an Anne come through, I'll be like, yay! But we do try and keep it as fair as we can. I hope you hit the lottery this time. Not that our program's a lottery, but it kind of is. And yeah, so we will be drawing, but we are drawing 40 names. In the past, we've only got funding for 20. So this is better chances. We have more slots. And then we are going to be doing 4 cohorts. So we will have 10 in each group, and then they're going to have different times. I'm going to go over all of that too. But once you've been selected, we will be calling you to book your initial assessment and final if you happen to know which dates work for you. We have rather large, it's about a 2-week window. So ideally we can find a time for everyone that's going to work in your schedule and as well in ours. So we're going to be doing that. And this is where you're going to be taking that intake form. So we do need you to do, it is a little bit lengthy of a questionnaire. It will take about 10 minutes. But ideally you can go through that and you'll have to do it at the end as well. And then you get to meet your group and we start getting to have fun. So on the 16th of July is when we will be hitting the ground running. So we are calling 40 participants to action. This will be Group A. So the initial assessment will be happening here. And then on the 16th, like I said, we are going to start with our exercise session. It's going to be taking place at the Wellness Center. And the only thing that are going to change throughout Group A, B, C, and D is the times. You guys will get a chance. So in that email, I'm going to step away from the light. Much better. In the email, you guys will get to select your preference. If you guys are available for all of that, that makes it a lot easier too. But if there's a specific time that you need, you will have an opportunity to select which times. And we will take that into account as well. So this one is more of the earlier time slots that we have available. We have the yoga session, then another exercise session. We have our hydrotherapy pool. Then we have Samir coming in to talk about our pharmaceutical intervention, exercise, nutrition as we age, exercise again, occupational workshop, and then we'll finish off with more exercise. So it is quite obviously exercise based. And then in the weeks between August 19th and 30th, we will be getting you guys back in here to do that final assessment. Okay, so this is Group A. Yes.
What if you have a trip plan in that?
So we obviously, yes, that is okay. We are trying to prioritize people who can make the entire program. It will make it easier. We've been noticing that if people can't make them all, their numbers stay relatively the same, which is understandable. You can still apply, because if you get called too, we can figure it out. Where are you going? Somewhere fun?
Well, I haven't booked yet, but my sister.
Oh! Oh, nice.
And I'm just gonna go for a week.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we'll try and let us know when it ends up being. Yeah. We do ideally ask that people can make all the sessions, but we understand that you guys, we have life, right? This is B. So then everything's the same, except now you're going to notice it's at 1:30. And then we do have some of our workshops. We are going to join 2 groups together. So we'll have 20 people at the workshop, just so then, we can have, we'll still have food for everyone, and then we can go through the presentation. And then we have Group C. Again, all the dates change. The only thing is the time. It's just going to be slightly. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to take the photo? Keep going. We are going to get sent all this information as well. But if you want another photo, yeah, I can stand like this. Good, good, good. Okay. Okay, one more. You got now deep. So again, all that's changed. It's a later time. So you guys can put your preference. Ideally, if you are pretty flexible, it makes it a lot easier too, because we are trying to, we can't have all 40 of the people wanting this time slot. So we do need some people who can hopefully do or be a little flexible. But yes, so this is the time and this is the program that we have outlined.
They're Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, yes. Yes, I should have mentioned that. Thank you. Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons, yes.
Somewhere in the morning.
This one, just because the pool's the only time slot in the pool is a little earlier. That's the only one that will change. All the other ones should be in the afternoon for the times. And again, we will give you all this information and you can kind of go through and see which group would work best for you. And then the last thing, so this is basically, it's a free program. We are going to be offering you guys, we will be providing you guys with a lot of tools to kind of go forward with. The only thing that we do ask from you guys, and some of this criteria is laid out by the funding that we receive. You must be over the age of 55 to participate. Ideally, you can commit to the entire program because this is, unlike other drop-in sessions, we are trying to collect some data for ourselves. We are trying to see if, to show that this kind of preventative care works. And ideally, this is how we continue to get more funding. So this is why we've been very successful. We've gotten funding over the years. We want that to continue. And ideally, we want to go for some bigger grants that are going to allow us to get more people in. Because right now, we've only had 20 people at a time. Unfortunately, Peterborough is pretty big, and we also extend to the surrounding areas as well. Like anyone can participate as long as they can come, but we need more, right? We need to show the government that this is an area that we need to explore a little bit more, rather than putting as much resources. Not that we still need resources into those long-term care, but that should not be the main focus. If we can work on preventative care before we go to that step, this is where we see a lot of the improvement, right? So we need to be able, based on that, you need to be able to get here. You need to be able to get to the wellness center. If you guys do want to find someone who's lives in the North End who will commute with you, that works for me, as long as you guys have some way to get to these locations. And then you kind of want to learn more. That's a big component too. I want you to be excited to come. Ideally, you're excited to come. Doesn't often happen, but it makes it a little bit more enjoyable if you are hoping to have some fun along the way. Yeah. So this is what we're asking for you guys. I do want to have Mike come up and chat with you guys, but is there any questions in the mean before we kind of forget a question? Is it feeling okay? Feeling like we need more coffee and snacks? That's me. But maybe I will get Mike if he doesn't mind coming down. So this is Mike Williams. Hello, hello. In his bright pink. I love it.
Yeah.
We kind of coordinate. Somewhat.
Yeah.
And here, yeah. So these are just the information. I'll step out of the way.
Okay, thanks, Kate. As Kate mentioned, my name is Mike Williams. I'm a physiotherapist here at Trent Health and Motion. I'm also the co-owner of the clinic. I just wanted to come up and have a few words before we get to more of the question and answer part of things. Because some questions that I often get when we go through those initial assessments, I figured if I can communicate to everybody in the larger group, then maybe that saves us some time on the back end when we get to that stage. So the first thing is, thank you for, your interest in the program. I know that, I think it was Anne, I was inside the office, so I couldn't tell, I was asking about, well, how, what are my odds? Give me a percentage chance here. And I think, it's tricky. Yes, there's 40-ish people here at Maple Ridge. There'll be more than that. I think maybe 40, 50-ish people or so.
55 people
Yeah,
registered.
right. And those numbers may change a little bit still. We're almost sort of like a victim of the success of the program so far. We have a limited number of spaces, and as we run it more and we get positive feedback and we make more changes, I think word spreads more and we get more interest, right? So like these sessions, these information sessions have grown. So whichever session you were at last, you might find that there's probably more people this time than there was last time. And so while we know that there's a need for more of this, like we kind of have to go through the process of trying to show the effectiveness of it, to speak to the powers that be, to get them to recognize the need to fund this sort of thing on a larger scale. Because as it stands, I'm not sure if this is 100% accurate, but we had 200 plus people on the wait list last summer for the 20 spots that we had at that time, right? So it's the need is clearly there, right? And while we would love to be able to do this on a larger scale, at a certain point, it's just about kind of dollars and cents, really, right? And that's a big part of the reason why, we ask for a lot of feedback and why we ask for a lot of information in terms of, some of these quality of life surveys and doing all of these functional assessments pre and post, is to be able to make that case more strongly in terms of the effectiveness of the program, to justify the investment that we see that needs to be made, right? Because in an ideal world, this is something that wouldn't just be a Peterborough and surrounding areas option. It would be something that would be done on a much larger scale than that, because we know the need is clearly there. Before I get further into that, I would just say that, this program started out actually before the pandemic, like right before, when we were kind of at a place with, truth and reconciliation and our connections with Indigenous communities and, land acknowledgements and things along those lines. And I felt like within what we do in the clinic, I wasn't sure how we could make a meaningful contribution to that. And then the idea of trying to do something that was using the skill sets that we have to provide something for the local Indigenous community. So we reached out to some of the First Nations communities in the area, and Curve Lake was really the first group that we connected with to run this program. And it started super small. We were pushing hard just to get 8 participants that first time around, right? Like at the beginning of 2020. And now we're at a place where we've got way more demand than we can even manage. But that's really how this started, was trying to do something meaningful in that space. And so, we expanded further. And with the pandemic, even prior to that, I would say, we all know that the demographics are moving in a direction where the senior population is growing faster than really any other demographic group, whether that's in Peterborough, where there's a larger proportion of seniors compared to most other communities in the province and in the country. I know there was a point relatively recently where Peterborough was like the highest in terms of like the proportion of the population that was seniors. I know that there was like Peterborough and certain parts of Quebec and things like that kind of went back and forth. So I'm not sure what the current census would say about that, but Peterborough's up there. And so we know that if we've got this demographic change that's happening, the healthcare system isn't really structured to manage that well, right? Whether it's family doctors retiring, which everybody can talk about and knows that it's harder to find those, long-term care beds not being sufficient, hospital care not really being something that's easy to access sometimes, but it's kind of a primary point. If you don't have access to primary care in your community, people end up going to the hospital and emergency room, but they can't manage that influx that well either. And so like trying to do something that allowed us to make a meaningful contribution in that area, and I think is another motivating reason behind this sort of a program, right? Because ideally, I think in my communications with most people, I would say the idea is they want to avoid long-term care or those kinds of facilities or any additional higher levels of need for as long as possible, right? So it's not that like long-term care is a good option in lieu of taking a preventative approach, right? I think we've got to be able to do multiple things at once. And sometimes within the system now, as it is, like if you need a hip replacement, you can get that. But if you need to do things beforehand to avoid a hip replacement, you don't get support with that so much, right? It's like figure it out on your own. And if you fall down and you get hurt, now we're here to help. But what if people want to do something before they fall down, ideally? And so I think that type of logic is kind of what underpins why we're doing this. A large part of what we do within the clinic tends to be individual care, one to one with people. I mean, with some of the people in here, we've worked with one to one in the past, and there's certainly a place for that. But one of the things that the pandemic also made clear was when people were more isolated at home, some of the things that we were seeing in the clinic were things that we felt like if you had done certain things beforehand, you maybe could have avoided that injury to the back or the knee that then leads to a prolonged period of maybe more inactivity and then functional decline that follows that. So, trying to seeing some of the patterns that we were seeing frequently in some of those one-to-one interactions was another thing that made us say, well, we're kind of communicating some universal things to people often, and why not just get all those people together in a larger group and be able to do it that way? It might be a bit more effective and also cost effective, because the reality is, unless you have, some extended health benefits or things like that, for some people, accessing service in this kind of a setting can be challenging financially. So, that was another reason, again, for the idea of trying to roll this out in a more, in a larger format. Now, again, when we think back to the pandemic, Kate kind of spoke to this as well, the idea of social isolation and that being a component of health that sometimes gets overlooked, but that maybe we're more conscious of now, because in the pandemic, when people were a little bit less able to communicate and contact with other people, they could feel that loss. But there's a lot of evidence to support the idea that like social isolation is a hugely impactful thing from a health perspective, right? Like if you are physically active and able to maintain connection and communication with people close to you, if you can do those two things pretty well, like there's a good chance that your overall health is going to be good, and it increases your chances of living a healthier life for longer, right? So while we can't necessarily, I think, provide everything from a social interaction perspective, like it was really important for the program for us to structure it in these smaller groups and have those cohorts staying together over the course of the program to allow for some of that kind of connection to develop a little bit more organically. And like Kate said, there's been a lot of good examples of how some of the relationships that started in this program also kind of continued on afterwards. And I think that's one of the really, really impactful ways that we can see this having an impact over the long term. Even if people don't get as strong as they'd like or as physically capable in the ways that we know they can and we hope we can support them with, if you can make a couple more connections, that might be almost as meaningful in terms of maintaining health and cognitive kind of function over the longer term. But I think those are some of the key reasons that we thought that that this program was something that was really necessary. And as I said before, like the idea of making sure that we have enough spaces to accommodate the need is one of our challenges, and that's why we're really appreciative of everybody who's participated in the past and that who will go through in the future. We're going to be asking you for lots of feedback. You can tell us all the things we did terribly. We want to know about those so we can make some changes. And even the current iteration of the program is still quite different from where it was before, in large part because of the feedback that we've gotten. So we really value that. And, if you even have thoughts after this session about what could have been done differently or what pieces of information you would have liked more of or that type of thing, then even that is something that would be valuable. But as we go through the program, completing all of these surveys, which we know can take some time, they are kind of labor intensive at points, but it's being able to show that effectiveness and that change pre and post that's really key in being able to justify the need for something like this, and to show that it's something that's cost effective in a way that is going to help our argument for applying for larger funding in the future. And that's something that we're currently in the process of doing. Hopefully we'll hear back soon about some larger grant funding that will allow us to roll this out over a number of years and have a lot more people be involved. The way that we're currently doing it, we've been applying for smaller grants, and if you get one, great. we have an event like this, we offer up more spots, but if we don't, then there can be a bit of a lull for a period of time. So sometimes you'll hear from us and then 5 or 6 months may go by and you don't hear anything. It's because we're still in that pipeline waiting for those next application results to come back. So, and it's always tricky when you're dealing with the government about, timelines. Like they say they'll get back to us in spring 2024. Like, well, spring's a big period of time, right? Like, so we're still waiting to hear back on one of the larger funding applications, which would be a huge, huge change because, it's challenging when we're dealing with other partners, whether it's the YMCA or Trent University or the Wellness Center, if we're approaching them and saying, well, we want to do this for 6 weeks. We don't really know what we're going to be able to do afterwards, right? So if we can approach them and say, well, over the next 5 years, we need to have these many time slots made available, it gives us a little bit more leverage in some of those discussions, and it allows us to kind of formulate a more clear plan over a longer time that we can communicate, so that then we'll be able to give Anne some more clarity about when we're going to be able to make sure that that they get into the program. One thing that I would also say is really the primary criticism, and it's not a bad thing, is that of the program has been that it's too short, right? Like, why 6 weeks? Like, it should be longer than that. And the rationale for that is just that we know that's kind of the minimum amount of time that you're going to be able to, take part in an exercise sort of intervention and see meaningful change, right? If it were shorter than that, for a lot of people, we wouldn't have enough of a sample size to see something meaningful change in that. So that's why we kind of cut it off there. Ideally, it would be longer though. Ideally, this would be something that's, 3 or so months long with some additional check-in points after the end of the program. And so we're cognizant of the fact that this is something that would ideally roll out over a longer period of time. And that's some of the basis of the larger funding applications that we've put forward, is for the program to not be 6 weeks, but to be, 12 weeks, twice a week, and, some additional components at the end, like these follow-up booster sessions that they talk about in a lot of literature, which has been shown to be helpful in terms of keeping people motivated and on track and kind of maintaining that connection, whether it's within the group or with those healthcare providers who are trying to provide that support and encouragement. So it's certainly something that we're aware of. We know it should be longer, and we would love for it to be able to be longer. But again, it's one of those things that's really funding dependent. So one component that I don't think Kate spoke to that I did want to touch on as well is that, and you kind of started talking about, the different people who are leading the workshop, providing education and information. But one of the other things is we're going to try to make sure that each person who's going to be leading a workshop also provides some direction towards like online resources that are, legitimate, accurate, easier to understand, that you can use in the future, right? Because there's a lot of misinformation online, much less also just information that's hard to grasp and that might be written in that more kind of scientific or health related tone that isn't necessarily accessible to everyone, right? I think maybe the bigger issue might be more misinformation. So we're going to ask that each presenter provide some sort of online resource that you can use as a reference point in the future too, so that maybe then you're building a library of those valid resources that you can look to when you have a question about something health related. And I think that's an important part over the long term as well. I think those are the main things that I wanted to speak to. And I would say, for a lot of people, this might be more a start or an entry point into becoming more active and getting an idea of what are the areas of physical activity that they might really connect with, that they can continue on with for the long term. Everyone isn't going to like every single component. Some people don't love hydrotherapy. Some people think yoga's silly or whatever the case may be. Like some people don't like, strength training, but hopefully you'll be able to find some component of one of the things that we do throughout the program that is something that you can connect with and that will then serve as something that you can build on and continue with over the long term, right? If you can take away something like that and some other pieces of education around how to manage your health better, then I think that it's been successful in terms of what we were hoping for. In addition to obviously hopefully seeing some functional improvement on some of those outcome measures that we'll do with you pre and post. So, hopefully it's a start for some, or maybe it's just a continued support towards better health for people who are already on some sort of pathway and plan that they have as to how they maintain their health. But I think if you're here today, you have to have some interest in trying to do more to try to help your health, and hopefully we can provide something that will give you some additional tools to do that. And if we can, then we've done what we sought out to do in this whole process. So, yeah. All right. Well, no, thank you guys. I think at this point, if there's any questions, feel free to fire away at Kate. I'm going to back off. And just pepper her with as many questions as you like. And yeah. And I'll jump in if you need.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that people can know that they have a partner or a friend.
Yeah.
I think that undermines the randomness, and I think it disadvantages single people. And
I agree.
For-
part of what Michael was saying about when his remarks about social isolation was very compelling, that if people are already preloaded with partners and friends, then not only is it a limitation to your data, but it also makes the problem worse. So I think it should be people get chosen by a
What-
single name.
Okay, yeah, no, we can definitely, we have done it. So we've changed it before, because before we didn't do that, and now we started to, because caregivers, there's people who needed rides and one got picked but their driver didn't, so we started then lumping them together. But that's another good point too, where maybe if one gets picked, it has to be both get picked, or else that is a good point
It just decreases the odds and undermines the social.
for the one person. Yes, that's true, you're 100% right.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair criticism of the process, right? Like, it's something that has, again, over various iterations of the program
And
been
changed.
I think none of this is static at this point, so I think feedback like that is valuable. So
Yeah.
You always divide applicants into two groups, people that are
I mean-
and people that are truly single, and then draw up both cohorts, the 20 from one,
20 from the other. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, no, this is, we
More
are
people,
trying to,
I think, right?
yeah, we're always trying to, we have been changing it, like I said. So before it was strictly, but we were just noticing a lot of people reaching out to us, and they're like, well, I got selected, but I don't drive, so I need my partner.
But isn't that a part of the program? You have to be able to get that there.
That's true, yeah.
So.
make your own way.
Make your own way there.
Or your partner waits.
Weights and,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think those are all legitimate, I think, points to make, right? It's not that half the program has been filled entirely with that type of scenario where it's like someone says they can only arrive if they have a partner, and so we're like, okay, well, let's add this person as well. There have been instances of that in the past, but I wouldn't say that that's primarily how people have been included in the program. So I don't know what the exact number of instances of that is. I can think of 3 off the top of my head, but I think it's a valid point. That's something that we probably have to consider as we see that the demand
Demand
continues
grows.
to grow, right? And the spots available don't. So I
Yeah.
think thank you for pointing that out.
yeah.
Is there, I know the government gives you like a lump sum, is there any flexibility to have run this for 80 and have people pay half and the government subsidize half to open up more spots?
I love that you would be, yeah, it would be
Like,
an
I don't know what it
interesting,
costs to run this, so I don't know if it's prohibitive or if it's like everybody pays 100 that goes in it, and then
there
I'm
are,
just
yeah.
throwing that out there as a,
No, I love that. So there are some stipulations that grants have. So it is there isn't as much flexibility as we would like. That's why we're hoping to go for the bigger ones, because then you can actually make sure that we get more people. The other thing is, a lot of times that still limits some people to participate.
that's what I'm saying, but I don't know. Or,
No.
like the things that you are doing that you're able to do a video of, is that something to put a package?
We do,
together for
yeah.
People that don't get in, that could do the chair yoga at home or do the stretching, or do
Yes.
this, and then either a nominal fee, or instead of being disappointed to not get in at all.
Wow, I like that. We could definitely.
And so one of the things that we did in recognizing that, especially when the program would end, what we would find is that some people are like, we really want to continue this in some fashion, but like, and we acknowledge that ideally this would run longer, but like financially we just couldn't make that feasible. So then we started what would be sort of like a paid version of the program that eliminated some of the education workshops and was just focused on structured sort of guided exercise in small groups at a cost that people could participate in. Because when we initially started this, the idea was that we wanted to make it so that there was zero cost, so that it eliminated that substantial boundary or barrier for a lot of people, right? And that was kind of the ethos that we brought to that. But again, recognizing that there were some people who really wanted to continue, we did try to really just in February through like maybe April or so, we were running this like
Mobility in
Motion and
Motion.
Mobility program, which was basically a paid version of this over a 10-week period of time, and that there was a cost to participants to be able to be involved. So it is something that we're open to the idea of that, and we've tried to test that out in some ways. I think still the overarching goal is to be able to offer that at no cost, and I know that, you know, in some ways that doesn't serve everyone in either circumstance, right? And so yeah, I think it's something that is a challenge to try to find something that's going to meet everyone's needs. So, you know, we try in the way that we can, and we will maybe make some additional changes to that structure in the future. But as it stands right now, that's kind of how it's been structured. So it's just going to be the free version of the program, and then if we do offer the Motion and Mobility program again, which we likely will once we're able to find a more staffing to be able to make that possible, then that'll be an option in the future too. Yeah.
For the people that don't get in, do you
I'm
provide
just gonna
that?
stay standing up. Yeah. Instead of sitting.
Here, I can
Yeah.
I'll grab some
Provide that authoritative list of online resources to the people that don't get in, so they can.
That was never a part of the program in the past. So that was just something this time around that we were going to implement and to communicate to each of the people leading the workshop to provide some of those resources. So in the past, that wasn't a component that we made an emphasis on trying to do. So this is something new.
That's
Yeah.
like an excellent idea.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how proprietary is that?
And
list
it's
or
not.
how
Yeah.
pretty-
Yeah, and that's something that we can certainly consider sharing, right? Like, I think we would ideally build that over time and have even more information as we get other types of providers involved, right? Because what you see there in terms of, you know, the dietitian or the pharmacist or, you know, the yoga instructor or the OT, like we've also mixed those up a little bit and tried to bring in other providers to speak to topics of their interest, right? So, and there's other ideas we have around other people that we think would be good to include, who could again provide other resources that would be validated and useful for people. So I think that's something that we could certainly do, and that's where the newsletter that we sent out to everybody to make them aware of this program initially is a form where we could share that information in the future. So
That would be great, just to
have.
to reach more people. You know, even if it.
We're
yeah, even if they're not in the program itself, it's like, well, this is a resource you could use, right? Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea and something that we can certainly move forward with.
we
So
also have the website.
yeah, and that's
That's where
another resource as
A
well.
lot of the information is right now is the website too. So we can even have like the links. That could be even like a section.
Have a resource.
Page,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that's
We're still in the like beta version of the website too, so we can even
Yeah.
note that and add that little tab.
don't mind me. I'm just gonna
You're gonna note that down.
Yeah.
Just another comment when Michael was saying about staffing. The kinesiology students at Trent
Mhm.
love community placement.
Yes. So
They've
we-
been involved too.
They've been involved. We actually have, even in some of the photos, actually, there has been like a student who often accompanies me, and then I will show a progression of an exercise while the student shows a way that you can modify it. So we have them actually joined. I feel like we've had 4 or 5 students join us.
Yeah, something along
Something
those lines.
along-
But
It's sometimes
yeah.
hard because of their schedule too. So some of them can only accompany us for a few of the programs. But yeah, we've even had a student from Fleming as well.
Yeah, there's a whole movement behind sort of intergenerational learning as well, and having, not just, not just us speaking to you, but having younger students involved. So whether that's at the university level or even in the high school level being involved, right? Because I think we're all a part of the community, and people being able to communicate and work together better at all age ranges is something that I think benefits us all. So it's certainly something that is a part of the program. It's not something that's like a stated objective, but it's something that we're working on. And one other area for anybody who's really interested in the future, if they love the program and they want to continue to be involved, what we would love to have is to have, whether it's Kate or another kinesiologist or a kinesiology student, but also someone who's been through the program or maybe is a senior who's really, enthusiastic and engaged with exercise, also be a person who's one of the co-leads of the program too. So maybe it's Kate leading a harder version of that exercise, a student leading one version, and a senior volunteer participant leading another version of the exercise, so that we get, people from a wide range of ages as the experts leading and receiving the information, right? Because I think there's value there too, right? To have that model in front of you in that way, right? So, yeah.
Just towards what I was chatting about, maybe there's potential for a grant for like a thing to put together to remotely, for most of it, like the
For more-
hydrotherapy, obviously not, but the other speakers and everything else, to put a thing together that you get funding for, so that, like, obviously more
More of a
are gonna-
virtual-
more not gonna get in than are, right?
Yeah.
By the
Yep.
numbers, so
Yeah.
to have that available, government funded for 2,000 people in the city of Peterborough or in the county of Peterborough, instead of having 40 people, like that's unrealistic, what you're saying.
For, yeah.
Demographics and everything else,
Yeah.
so we'll make it, spread it around.
We can definitely, there
You can
are
still do your initial and your
final,
post
and then have all of it else be
on
virtual.
their own.
Yeah.
I think the virtual aspect of it is, I think people are much more open to and kind of prepared for that than they would have been pre-pandemic, because everybody's had to do some stuff virtually. So I think there's that's possible in a way that it wouldn't have been before the pandemic, for sure. I think one of the reasons we've probably leaned slightly away from that, because we did try to do that at the earlier stages of the pandemic, and maybe we're more capable now than we were then, but it didn't work so well when we tried to do it that way. And like, this was, mind you, in 2020, 2021 when we tried to do that, I think, and it didn't run so smoothly. So that's why we've kind of steered away from that, but it's maybe something to consider revisiting at this stage, when we've got a level of demand that we can't really manage on an in-person.
Don't tell anybody about your program, because that's
I guess.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that people are keeping it secret, but yeah, maybe. But these information sessions keep getting bigger, so I think that some people are telling some people, but it's a fair point that maybe people want to like keep the numbers small, right? Yeah.
Toad salad one.
I think you had a question in the back there. I like the color of your shirt, by the way. I think you match. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I read like about this section, and then there's a Peterborough Public Library, piece as well.
Yeah.
And then the session at the Wellness Center. I guess what I'm asking is, do you need to be chosen for the program before attending the sessions at the Peterborough Library?
No. So the library is a completely different thing, right? So yeah, while there's going to be some overlap, like I will speak, because I'm leading that session, I'm going to speak a little bit about Seniors in Motion as one of the like community resources that may be available. But that is more about the power of exercise and why it's relevant. Like, I think everybody knows, like, yeah, it's good for me to exercise, but like, why? What specifically is it that exercise is doing within your body to make a difference to your mortality, morbidity risk, and overall quality of life and health? cognitively and physically. So I'm going to be speaking about that in large part, right? So it's sort of some of the rationale or the research underpinning why this type of thing is relevant, right? Is the focus of that talk. And that's a talk that's a part of a series of other talks that Age Friendly Peterborough has been leading at the library. It's called like the Living and Aging Well series. So it's a separate entity entirely to Seniors in Motion. It's just that I'm going to be speaking at that, and I'll mention Seniors in Motion, but I'm really talking more about exercise in general. And that's June 5th at 10:30, I think. So yeah, you can look it up on the library and register. There's only 8 spots left, I believe. Yeah, but I think that if the demand is such that then they need to use a bigger space in the library, then they'll move it to a larger location. So yeah, come on out if you want to hear me speak. Yeah. If not, then don't.
My second question, and it's sort of your decision whether or not you want to do this. I guess I'm sort of curious about gathering quick data in this room this morning about how many people are applying for their second or third time. I'm applying for the third time.
Third time.
I couldn't come last summer because my daughter got married, so it was her fault.
Okay.
I'm available for every one of those.
Okay.
That
My
helps.
name is
Yeah.
Libby.
Libby.
Okay. See, well, this is why.
Jay, your daughter.
This is why we went to sort of like a randomized process for doing this, because I'm getting my mother-in-law tell me that her friend wants to be in the program and other things, so it's tricky, right? And like we want to make it so that we can get everybody in, but we know that there will be people left out, even nice people like Libby at times, but hopefully we'll be, and Ann as well, right? Yeah, but hopefully we'll be able to.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, now we're rethinking that policy, so that would not be an advantage anymore. But yeah,
If
Yes.
you're not selected on this round, are we gonna continue to receive emails?
Yeah.
Let us know about
Yeah,
the next
you'll be-
opportunity?
you'll still be on the newsletter and the wait list. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But again, like I do think like the funding that we got for this this cohort of the program to go through is a part of the New Horizons for Seniors program, right? Now, like they've been pretty supportive of like this concept as a whole, and like we've gotten that grant like I don't know 3 or 4 times now consecutively. So there's like a much bigger
Yeah.
version
Yeah.
of that, like under the same heading, but it's like a pan-Canadian version of it. So that's the one that we really have our fingers crossed with, because if we get
Yeah.
that, then everybody who's on that wait list now, basically they could all be a part of the program going forward. So
Yeah, fingers
like that's
crossed.
why we've been like really hoping for that. And I think there's some of the things about how people have been selected and various things like that, we were kind of hoping that would be a moot point because we would
Yeah.
just get this funding. Maybe that's wishful thinking, we'll see. But I think yes, you will be kept in the loop going forward, and yeah, you'll know about new developments, whether that's additional funding or other things that we have down the
And getting that money or that big grant that you're talking about, would that give you more flexibility in what days you're offering during the week?
we would just have more, right? The reason it's Tuesday, Thursday now is just because we wanted to avoid, the Mondays and the Fridays where it's a long weekend or whatever, and people are trying to get away early or stay longer. So like,
We are also limited. The wellness center has like even for the afternoon because they have stuff going on in the mornings. We're limited to when we can do it. So and ideally we don't want you ping ponging across town to
Yeah.
like different locations. So if we do get more of the funding, we would have the opportunity to have different locations, but it's still all with one. And maybe it's like Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then we have a Tuesday, Wednesday or Tuesday, Thursday at the
Yeah.
wellness center, but one's at the Y and
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
just
yeah.
me personally, I'd have to figure
move
out
some stuff around.
something.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
just because we had the Fridays just during the summer. We're missing a couple Fridays and Mondays, so it's like, oh, that doesn't work.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Hmm.
I feel like you guys, yeah. Snack
Well,
time.
okay. Great.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. I can see you guys all out. Thank you, guys.